Stay tuned for Retire Your Way with Dale Sudis, a leading financial retirement strategist and the founder of Sudis Financial and Insurance Solutions, right here in Fresno. Every week, Dale discusses pressing financial topics of the week, ranging from reliable income strategies to our financial markets, including Social Security, tax strategies, wealth management, RMDs, legacy planning, long-term care solutions, and most importantly, how to make sure you have enough guaranteed lifetime income to retire your way with choice and dignity. From taxes to trends to total transparency, Dale covers it all. And now, here is Retire Your Way and Dale Sudis. This is Retire Your Way with Dale Sudis of Sudis Financial. Let us help you with your retirement income strategies, and let us make sure that Dale feels welcome coming to the microphone.
How'd they get into the studio?
Come on. It is a small room.
Yeah.
For this virtual 12. Dale, how are you doing this week? Still busy?
Doing
Still
great.
Busy week?
Yeah, busy, but not too busy to see people. I mean, we could be busy, but we're not too busy to
help people.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do, that we enjoy it.
Right. So, folks, you can get your own strategy down. Too busy to keep doing live events? We're going to come up against the end of the year. Eventually, you're going to have the holiday party, and then you gotta put together the tree and the lights and the decorations. So we're not going to be able to do the live events, but we got a little bit more before the end of the year, right?
Right. If you check out our website, we have every other month right now is how we have it scheduled to where we do a live event over at Fresno State. They have a wonderful business center, and the room is high tech and shaped like a half moon or whatever you call it. But it's really nice setup and
theater seating is what you're looking for.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, you've been in the business world for a long time. You're theatrical. Your time as Hamlet was a long time ago. Right?
Yeah.
It's been quite a while. Folks, if you'd like to register for one of the live events, just briefly tell me, what are some of the topics you hit on? Are you talking about current Social Security, cost of living adjustment, taxes? What else?
Yeah, I mean, we'll even entertain. We'll ask people, are there specific questions or concerns you have? Maybe we can address them as we go through. We're not going to get into a person's personal question, because I might have to ask them a bunch of questions in front of everybody else to give them a proper answer. That wouldn't be nice. But typically it's, things, how Social Security works, how to maximize it, how to minimize taxes, how to make sure your income will last, the dangers of just having a lump of money and we rely on taking a certain percentage out, to fill in the gap between what we get from Social Security and pensions and what we need, because that sequence of returns can really devastate your retirement and rarely works more than 50% of the time. It actually works less than 50%.
Hang on a second. Hang on. You know how I am about jargon alert. Yes, a sequence of returns. What do you mean here? Because I've got a good story, and I thought this was going to be a big positive thing. Go ahead.
No, it's So we show people how not to do things and how to do things. So sequence of returns. We know interest rates will go up and down over time. We also know the stock market's going to go up and down. So if you need X amount of dollars out of your savings, investments, and the interest goes up, you're not eating into your principal as much. If the stock market goes up, you're not, selling as many shares of stock or whatever you have in that account. But if the interest drops and or the stock market drops, to get that same income, you're having to, eat into your principal more. You have to sell more shares. So a sequence of returns, the reason it can really, the main reason it works less than half the time is because when things are shifting up and down, especially down, you're eating up more of your savings. So if you need additional income, set it up properly. Have something set up that you can create additional guaranteed lifetime income, like your Social Security, like your pension, so that you can't outlive it. And then all this excess money you have, go ahead and gamble it on the stock market if you want. Or, you have more flexibility, bottom line, in retirement.
Yeah. And one of the things we want to make sure is that we are being as efficient as possible with all of our strategies. You don't have to do this by yourself. You can call the phone number. You can go to the website. You can come to one of the live events. What you said, though, that does make sense. But when we're at the live event,
because I see these questions all the time on things like Yahoo Finance. You know, I have $860,000 saved for retirement. I'm 58 years old. I cannot stand going into my workplace anymore. Can I retire? But it's a hard question for you to answer in a live event because you've got a lot more you've got to ask.
Exactly. I mentioned this before. I had a couple I'm currently working with. You know, they're 65-ish each. And he has a blast at work. He no problem. And he makes decent income. She's making good income, but the job, she doesn't like it. I mean, it's stressful. She comes home just frazzled every day. And so she's thinking, well, I can last another, 800 something days and retire in 2027. And so I said, okay, I'll work up that plan. But I'm also going to work up a plan if you decide to quit now. You're not stuck there, And sure enough, I showed him, okay, you could retire next year. You'll have enough income, okay? You can delay Social Security, to 67, so a couple of years, and him to 70. And, this is how it would work. And, and at age 100, I projected, and she kind of looked at me, I projected, okay, you'll have leftover assets in the tune of $1.5 million. And they're not even starting out with that much. So the point being is, it doesn't need to be, you don't have to stay at work. Find out if you can quit sooner. In other words, retire and play with the grandkids, read the books, to whatever you want to do, play in the garden. So I love helping people do that. That's better than getting paid. The feeling of helping people know that their money's going to last, that's really good. But, we were talking too about how much money people have saved, some $40 trillion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, over $40 trillion in retirement assets here in the United States. I think that, and this is according to the Federal Reserve Board, the Department of Labor, and the IRS. That's in these retirement accounts. But where is a lot of it, Dale?
Most all of it is in what we call tax deferred. It could be IRAs. It could be, defined contribution plans, which is like a 401k, a 403b, which is a tax sheltered annuity. It could be in defined benefit plans, which are, again, pensions.
Or the private ones. I guess that's like your SEP IRA, or maybe your individual.
Well, defined benefit plans would be like a pension that, like I have ones who work for companies here in the Valley, and they could take it as income, a pension, or they can roll that lump out and make it their own IRA and have more control of it for other reasons, even put some of it in a form to create their own private pension. You've got public defined benefit, public pension plans, which is probably, it's a good chunk of the assets. And then you have, it's just a variety of tax deferred money, which means it's money that's in there that you paid, you use some of your income to put in there. You save taxes as you went along the way, or your employer put money in there for you. But down the road, when you go to take it out, some $40 trillion, Uncle Sam's going to say thank you because he's your partner in that money. People don't realize.
I didn't want a partner. I didn't ask for this partner.
Yeah, I got $200,000. I got $1 million in my 401k. Great. Close it and see how much you really get. Uncle Sam, Uncle Newsom in California, they're going to get their share, right? So you got to understand how those work and put them to work the right way for your retirement.
All right. We want to make sure that you're being as efficient as possible. It's I think, good news because we've been worried about the state of retirement here in the U.S., that retirement assets themselves have reached over $40 trillion. Retirement assets themselves are about 32% of total household assets. But as you said, a lot of this is in those tax deferred accounts. Now, some of this is in the house, our home that we've lived in, right? So that's not exactly spendable assets, though, in retirement.
Dead equity, right?
Is that what you call it? Dead equity. Here's this thing we've been paying off for 30 years, and you just gave it a fancy name of dead equity.
Your house is paid off. It's worth $500,000. What is it? It's dead equity. Can you punch a hole in your sheetrock walls? Yeah. Can you reach down in it? What are you going to get? Dust or insulation? You're not going to get cash. So And it's nice to have it paid off if you can. Is it necessary always for everybody? No. But the most of this money that people have invested is in, we were talking the form of what? Mutual funds, right?
Okay. Yeah. That's what I saw here. Most of it in IRAs, mutual funds, several $1 trillion, 65% of the assets in 401ks, 43% in IRAs, trillions and trillions of dollars in mutual funds. Now, you have discussed this before about the costs in there, the costs inside mutual funds.
Yeah, you got to be understanding. It's funny. Now, keep in mind, mutual funds is just the way the money is invested. It could be an IRA. It could be money you had saved in the bank and you put it into mutual funds, okay? Just like a CD or stocks and bonds, those are just types of investments. It doesn't mean they're tax deferred. It's just, a type of investment. But here's the thing I like to show people. If you, let's say you're married even, you go to the store, do you just willy-nilly throw whatever you see into the basket and then get to the, checkout or do you usually know what it's going to cost when you put it into your basket? I mean, you
know what you're looking. I get what you're saying. Is that you
most of the time you know what it's going to cost, right?
You're choosing burgers, you're choosing your Fruity Pebbles, you're choosing your bread, and you're choosing your fruit, and you're putting your stuff in there. But a lot of folks,
you're putting all this in there. Here's my point. You pretty much, most people don't willy-nilly just throw whatever they see. They put in there and they have an idea what it's going to cost when they get to the register, roughly, right? My wife and I always, joke about what do you think it's going to be now we're at Costco, right? But people think, these mutual funds, they put them in their baskets, so to speak, their financial basket, thinking they know what it costs. Because maybe the advisor does get 1 or 1.5% is what he tells you. But when you really analyze the mutual funds, you find out a lot of times it's not what you thought. They're usually 3 to 5%, sometimes more.
Yeah.
So, had you known it was going to cost that much, you probably wouldn't have put it in your financial basket.
Dale, as a financial advisor, I'm sorry, we got to put a pin in this real quick. We're going to take a very short message break. Hey, let's continue to talk about mutual fund costs. It's good news that there's so much assets for retirement savings here in the United States, but how much of it do you have? How much of it do you really have? And what is it? Your dead assets? your
dead equity.
Your dead equity in the home. How much do you really have for your spend in retirement? We'll discuss more of that when we get back right after this. Call the phone number, folks. We'll get you started on your own retirement income strategy. You can do that here with Dale. There's no cost. It's not a pitch. It's a process. It's a getting to know each other. Call the phone number. Let us help you out. 833-856-1382. Call that right now. Folks are standing by. That's 833-856-1382. More Retire Your Way in a moment.
Are you worried that you waited too late to start your retirement planning? That you waited too late to start saving? At Sudis Financial, we believe it's never too late to start planning for your future. We can help you develop a personalized retirement plan that is tailored to your current needs and goals. The team at Sudis Financial will sit down with you and provide an evaluation of your current path, including your investment strategy, tax planning, and risk management approach. We'll help you identify potential areas for improvement and work with you to create a retirement plan that is designed to help you work towards having financial security and peace of mind in retirement. It's not too late for you to get started with Sudis Financial. Call us today to schedule your complimentary retirement planning session. We believe we can help you get on the path to financial security and peace of mind in retirement. Call Dale Sudis and the team at Sudis Financial to get started on your own complimentary written financial plan. Call 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382.
Inflation has risen to the highest level in over 40 years, according to the April 2022 U.S. Inflation Calculator. Will your investments provide you the income you need in retirement? Are you losing purchasing power of your savings to inflation? Simply stated, if the daily cost of goods and services is 8% higher and you are earning 4% in your investments, that money buys you less of what you need. Right now is the time to act to be certain you have an income strategy that overcomes the effects of inflation. Get your own complimentary retirement income review by calling Dale Sudis of Sudis Financial and retire your way. 833-856-1382. You might have the savings you need today to weather this storm, but how will inflation affect your nest egg 5, 10, or 15 years from now. Call and ask for your complimentary, no obligation retirement income review from Dale Sudas of Sudas Financial, 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382.
For your own custom complimentary Retire Your Way review, call 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382.
Welcome back to Retire Your Way with Dale Sudas of Sudas Financial. If you'd like to learn more about the team, you can go to sudas.com, SOUTAS.com. We also have our events tab there if you'd like to hear Dale and his team live in person. Now, the good news is it seems like there's a lot of retirement assets. We've reached over the 40 trillion mark here in the United States. But where exactly is it? Now, the retirement assets, they said about 32% of it. That's kind of the investable assets. But you said, Dale, people include their home. And then what about if those investment assets are in tax-deferred accounts? When we're looking, if our listeners are out there, should they be really looking at their total net worth and saying, okay, I've got over $2 million ready to retire? Or do you have to look at what you can actually spend with those
or
things?
use for retirement? Yeah. What are you going to do? Knock a chunk of the roof off and go buy something or go on a vacation? No, you need your house. And so, it's nice to see the net worth. And overall, when we do the planning out, we typically have your home value increasing down the road, because that's still something that can pass on to your spouse or continues to your spouse or goes to the kids. But it's not what you use typically to be retired and to do the fun things and take care of things. What do you have in the bank? What do you have in the stock market? What do you have in retirement accounts? And again, the majority of people's savings is in these tax-deferred instruments. And so when you look at the 40 trillion, most of the time, for most of the time through the many years, 30 years plus, people's retirement plans like IRAs, 401ks, and stuff like that, or company-sponsored plans, were just a mix of stocks, bonds, and cash. But think about it. What's a mutual fund? Instead of one stock, it's a combination of several pieces of stock. Or instead of one bond, it's a combination of several bonds. It's instead of one strand, it's mixing in many strands. So that with the concept, it's harder to break. Like if you grab one pencil, it's easy to snap. But if you have like 20 pencils in your hand and you just try to snap them all at once, it's a little bit harder. You might be able to do it, maybe you can't. But the point being is mutual funds are supposed to be harder to break, but
right.
They do break.
And all of these,
they do break.
Yeah, and all of these instruments, every time we see something like that, usually was invented or started to be in more mass use because of a negative event that happened in the markets. The mutual funds, apart from the Investment Company Act of 1940, came because of 1929. There were so many people who had individual stocks. And even the market said, this is too risky. So let put a grouping together.
Yeah, and then even now, more recently, Uncle Sam, whoever it is, part of the government, has encouraged the 401k, the retirement plan
providers,
holders, the custodians, whatever, to start including more annuities in their program. Because you think about it, annuities are the only financial tool that you can convert that money into guaranteed lifetime income or income for a set number of years. I mean, you have a lot of variety in that, but not that you should put all your money in annuities by any stretch of the imagination, but they're recognizing where annuities can fit and help people because they can provide some additional guaranteed income for, both
right, and income
wife.
That you can't outrun.
Can't
income
outlive.
that you can outlive.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the American public has been clamoring for. Look, and we'll use this kind of with air quotes, is that when a person has a pension plan, whether it's through a government or a state or an individual corporation, but we don't see that a lot anymore, basically they're going to take that lump sum that they decided to save for that employee, and they're going to give it over to a large insurance company and annuitize it. And what you're talking about is hopefully Americans being able to create kind of their own version of a private, I use air quotes, private pension plan for themselves. Now, but it begs the question. First of all, Dale, I haven't seen one yet. I haven't seen an annuity offered just in the 401ks that I have access to, me as an employee. Have you seen them come in yet? Across your desk, have you seen somebody like, oh my gosh, there's finally an annuity offering in there?
Actually, they're out there quite a bit in a certain form. So if you have a 403B, which is actually a tax sheltered
Oh, yeah.
annuity, right?
Yeah, okay.
So you have ability. Now, you transfer that when you retire over to just a IRA account, take it out of the TSA 403B, and just move it over to some kind of IRA on the stock market or at the bank or whatever. You could, okay? But again, annuities do give you some additional features, abilities that, a stock account, a bank account can't give you. But again, it's all about, well, what do you really need in retirement? And number one, to maintain that lifestyle that you want or have, you need income to continue. So if you stop working, well, what do you need? You still need a paycheck. You still need to pay the bills. And that play check, as we call it, to go out and goof off and spoil the wife and the kids, grandkids, all that.
Yeah.
So they are out there. Have I seen the new strategy with just traditional? Just a few.
Yeah, I haven't seen it that much. I'm just worried about, because there's so many studies that have shown that many Americans don't know the difference between either the regular funds they have in there and what is a target date fund. And sometimes they're picking several stock funds and several bond funds and then one or two of the target date funds. Like, wait a second, we're not even completely clear on what the difference is. Now you throw in the possibility of an annuity. I think unless people are educated on it,
confusing.
Yeah, it's going to be confusing. And how much do we put into which account?
Yeah, and then if it's a variable annuity, that means that could have as high or higher fees than a mutual fund because you have the insurance contract that gives you all these wonderful benefits and abilities to create income and such. But then you have investments that have their own fees. So I'm not a big fan. Don't take me wrong. Variable annuities have their place. I personally don't use them for families. I never have, never will. But there are fixed annuities, fixed index annuities that can protect the principal, provide means for additional income down the road as well. So, but again, what do you need in retirement? You need to keep going.
Yeah. Now, one more thing on this, though, because a lot of these assets, as we said in the last segment, had been accumulated through mutual funds. And like you said, there are often inventions that become more efficient, just like automobiles and cars and televisions and electronics in that sort of way. We can definitely think about that. But what about the efficiency? What about the difference between a mutual fund and something like an exchange-traded fund? Don't they, generally speaking, across the board, have much lower costs, like 70, 80, or 90% lower costs, and do essentially the same thing?
So we could put money under management, and the majority of those managed assets are a mix of a variety of ETFs, exchange-traded funds, which have very low fees. So things you want to really be focused on, especially if you're building up towards retirement, is how to keep the fees as low as possible. The other thing is how to keep Uncle Sam out of your future retirement as best as possible. So be careful of maxing out the tax-deferred strategies, 401ks and such, where you lower your taxes. You put money in, $10,000, you put $10,000 a year in, and it brings your income down $10,000. Oh, I saved tax. Whoop-de-doo. You've got to understand that money, you're making Uncle Sam your partner. And if you think tax rates are not going to go up, but actually are going to go down, then that's a smart way to save. But let's be realistic. Tax rates are posed already to go back up a little bit, and who knows how much more. Well, a little bit in 2026, and who knows how much more in the future.
Right.
So,
and what you're talking about is that those Trump tax cuts, they tend to expire at the end of 2025. So for your 2026 reporting season, that's if Congress does nothing. We don't know if they're going to stay. We don't know if the new president who's in there is going to keep that there again, or if they can, or what's going to happen. But we look back at our debt clock, and it's one of the reasons why I think they're looking at raising taxes.
And very quickly, the main thing is we are going to take you and look at that whole picture, tax-wise, investment-wise, income-wise. not just look at one aspect of how do I grow my money. Big deal. You got to keep it.
Right, that's just one aspect. And if you're working with somebody who's only talking to you about that, the accumulation, what are the rates of return, and then, maybe you hear from them when there's, another new idea of what you need to move to. Are they talking to you about your taxes? Are they talking to you about your estate planning? Are they helping you with Social Security timing? Are they helping you with those medical reviews, including that Medicare open enrollment season, how and when to protect yourself with the long-term care solutions? It's holistic. It's comprehensive. That's why it's called Retire Your Way. That's why Dale and his team do what they do every single day in the offices. Folks, get your income review, get your holistic review, sit down with the team there. There's no cost. It is a process. It's a conversation. It's not a pitch. But call the phone number. Put the number into your phone right now so you don't lose it. You can call it later if you're driving around, or do it right now. Don't wait anymore. Time is running out on our calendar for the end of the year. 833-856-1382 is the phone number. That's 833-856-1382. This is Retire Your Way with Dale Sudas of Sudas Financial.
Do you know how much you might be paying in fees within your retirement accounts? Just 1 or 2% in hidden fees can eat into your savings and potentially hinder your ability to achieve your retirement goals. But how do you know if you're currently paying these hidden fees, and how do you find them? Dale Sudas and the team at Sudas Financial can help you find the fees within your investments and explore solutions designed to assist with minimizing them. Take control of your retirement savings so that you can work towards keeping more of your hard-earned money. Call for your very own complimentary Retire Your Way review and fee finder report. Let us help work towards finding, exposing, and helping to eliminate those potential hidden fees for you. Call Dale Sudas and Sudas Financial today for your complimentary fee review. 833-856-1382.
Call Dale Sudas of Retire Your Way and Sudas Financial for your own complimentary written income plan right away. 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382. Or you can write Dale at dale@sudas.com. SOUTAS.com. This is Retire Your Way with Dale Sudas of Sudas Financial, your income gap identifier. That's exactly what we were talking about.
Gap. That's what we were talking about.
Well, it's really important. Hey, look, first of all, announcement for everybody. If you hadn't read it by now, Social Security will go up. Your cost of living adjustment for 2025 is going to be, oh my gosh, it's going to be huge, right?
Oh, yeah. Write it down. Write it down.
Or noise. This is important. Here
What
we
is
go.
that?
Here we go. 2.5%. 2.5%.
2.5. Woo.
Exactly.
Yeah. Open a new bank account for that.
You betcha.
Yeah.
I think as I was reading in most of the papers, it ends up being, I don't know, something like an extra $50 or something like that. 50 to 75
Depends.
bucks.
It all depends on what your Social Security is, obviously.
Yeah.
What was this year? 24 was 3.2, wasn't it? 3.2, 3.5.
Yeah. Oh, and in the year before that, was a lot higher. But don't forget, we were at ridiculously high
There were some years
high
there was
inflation.
zero.
Yes.
Within the past 5 years or so, there were years it was zero. So, it on average, Social Security probably increases a little over 3%. It kind of maintains the same pace as inflation, right?
Right. But
but-
I was just asking you, and we're both kind of guessing on it ends up happening to your Social Security check next year. So
Yeah.
even though we are feeling the effects, you're paying for the effects of inflation right now in the current year, and then you get 2.5% next year in your checks. I don't know. I feel like it really doesn't help you keep up with inflation
But
because you've already paid it.
How about the other fun problem people think about with Social Security? I was talking to somebody, in fact, it was earlier today, and we're talking, and the same one at the gym, and we're talking about what Social Security is. I said, well, you got to remember, Social Security is a guaranteed lifetime income. And he gave me that face like, really? Like most people, isn't it posed to, stop or drop?
He didn't
in
like the word
2033?
guaranteed. He didn't like that.
Well, yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, it's not really guaranteed. And so we had a good discussion. It's kind of like we tell people the Baby Boomer Dilemma movie. It really goes into a detailed discussion about America's retirement experiment. Companies used to offer pensions. Most of them have switched over to like 401ks, what we call defined contribution plans, instead of defined benefit plans. Defined benefit means they're defining your income when you retire. Defined contribution, they're allowing you to throw money into a 401k, and now you, the employee, manages that with their whoever they choose as a custodian. But the point is, they talk about roughly 2033, Social Security, if they don't make any adjustments, Social Security will have to be cut by 1/3
Oh my gosh.
for everybody, right? So more and more people think, well, I better start it sooner because they're going to run out anyway. Or they, like he's
Kind of like looting the toilet paper in 2020. Everybody running to the store.
Oh, yeah. That's a good example.
That's it. And it does.
Yeah.
All of this discussion belongs in the bathroom. But yeah, people going and hoarding it and thinking it's going to run out. It's like, wait a second. There are still more trees out there. We are still going to continue to make more toilet paper. People are rushing to it right now. Now, this isn't the cause of why Social Security is looking at being depleted by 2033. There are fewer workers paying into it. It used to be like a 45-to-1 ratio of people working as opposed to taking Social Security. That was in the 1930s. And now it's down to like 3-to-1, almost at 2.7-to-1 right now. But the other thing is we're living longer.
Plus they put a cap. If you make more than $168,000, you pay into Social Security up to that $168,000. Then you don't pay into Social Security. So, so if you make $100,000, you pay into it. If you make $368,000, you only pay into Social Security on your first $168,000. So there are ways that they can fix it. I'm not worried about really down the road, will they cut it so much? But what if they do? What if while they're fighting over which way to do it, we don't have income? There's going to be, they freeze Social Security for people. What have we put in place to fill that gap? What are, and for most people, Social Security alone isn't going to cut it for their retirement, to pay their bills and to do the fun things they want to do, been dreaming about to do in retirement, So, there's ways to connect the dots with other tools that you can put in your portfolio.
Well, we started
by create more income
by starting about talking about the income gap. What if there is a gap? So what if the gap is Social Security? I'm glad to hear your confidence in the fact that the East Coast will come up with a solution. Personally, they can't come together on daylight savings time and whether we should have it or not. You think they're going to solve this, but I appreciate your optimism. What about other individuals? Where have you seen other income gaps sometimes that you need to fix for?
Well, for instance, recently I'm working with someone. He's looking to retire within a year or so, but unfortunately he got injured where he can't even work right now, and he's waiting on workers' comp. Workers' comp's dragging their feet, and even what he's getting through that's going to stop within a short time, a few months, and before he can actually start Social Security, how do we? For 6, 8, 10 months, how do we fill that gap?
Yeah.
So, we've already set something up. So down the road, he'll be able to turn on some additional income that'll fill in the long-term gap. But we've also we're setting up an account to where we'll have it available. And if the gap exists, let's say come January, then we're going to be able to just automatically put money into his account, just like a pension, just like Social Security or a paycheck, direct deposit, have taxes withheld if needed, and to fill in that gap. He'll be okay. It just, it's a waiting game with workers' comp. And it's...
Did he enjoy what he was doing before that? Did he enjoy his job?
Yes.
Or is it time for him to retire? I mean, is he comfortable with this? Or is this something that unfortunately the injury is kind of pushing him out of what he wants to do?
The injury is pushing him to retire sooner than he would like. But we have a good time every time we get together. We joke around and we have a nice time. I mean, that's when I have somebody sitting in front of me at my desk, as I get to know them, I look at, well, if I'm part of the family, if I'm your brother, knowing what I know, what would I do to improve, our retirement plan? That's how I look at people. And so I like getting to know people. I like to know, well, the hardest question, again, I'll say it again, is, so you're retired, you got all the money in the world, what would you be doing or doing more of? What is the fun things in life? And so many people, say, well, I don't know. Or, well, we live pretty simply, but just taking care of family, supporting the kids and grandkids, or the spouse. That's fine.
Sure, but there's only so many. Yeah, there's only so many days of the week that you can babysit the grandkids, right? You're talking about lifestyle.
But every day in retirement is a Saturday, right?
Yes. Yeah. So you've got to just how much can you spend on that? I've said this many times over the last few years. I'll go out on a Saturday, start doing my errands. By 12 o'clock, I've spent $200, and I don't even have half of my list done, and I haven't taken my girl out to dinner yet. I mean, so if every single day is like that, how are you going to build the income spend? And then more importantly, again, I want to go back to it, that identifying the income gap.
Right.
So now on two different scenarios, there's the concern of Social Security 10 years from now. What if there was a reduction, even by 10 or 20%? There's the concern, and this is something that's out of your own hands, is that what if your industry or your body and your lifestyle don't allow you to continue to do what you want to? Some people say, I'm going to work as long as I possibly can and make as much money. Mm-hmm. But what if the industry changes? What if you're let go from that job, or what if it's downsized? How do we create not just that income, but that savings gap of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years? This is one of the things that derails people's retirement. It's not themselves, it's a job loss.
Right.
And that savings loss and building that.
Yeah. How about, there's a couple I'm working with. He's, doing well with his business. He's making good money. But in talking to them, the wife, her job, even though she's what's called an exempt employee, which means they have to pay her double the minimum wage at least, right? But she doesn't get any overtime, and she's so an exempt employee. So she loves the income, but the job, she comes home just stressed and just she hates the job. And so I said, well, why don't you just retire? Because he's making enough income, and I get it. They would like to. The extra income they're getting is helping to reduce and maybe eliminate the mortgage within 4 or 5 years. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Great. But your plan will work even if you still have a mortgage, as I point out. And so I was talking to them recently, and I said, so did you retire? And she goes, I almost did. But in other words, she knows she's not stuck because we have put a plan in. So that's the other beautiful thing when let's say you're in that category. You like the money, but you really don't like the job. And so if you see the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train coming at you, but it's you aren't stuck with that job. You could retire if you want to, and you're not going to run out of money.
It's always what I say, those folks, are you one Monday morning meeting away from walking away? Are you one 8:30 p.m. email away from walking away saying, I don't need this anymore?
So all these kinds of things are what we talk about. So it's best for them, just let them know how they can set a time to come in and see us.
Absolutely. You can call the phone number here, folks, 833-856-1382. You can have this independent conversation with financial advisor Dale Sudas, who can let you know, are you close to being able to retire? Maybe you can right now. Maybe you need to work a little bit more. But let's find out. Let's take the guessing, the question marks out of your retirement. It's your life. You've worked and saved. Now let's find out how you can enjoy it. Dial 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382 for the first 10 callers. We'll do your retirement income plan. No cost for you. More with Dale Sudas and Retire Your Way right after this.
To get your complimentary Retire Your Way review, call Dale Sudas of Sudas Financial at 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382. Will you outlive your money? It's a scary thought, but it's a real concern for many people. In our opinion, that's why it's crucial to have a solid retirement plan in place. We believe that with proper planning, you can work towards making your money last as long as you do. Don't wait until it's too late to start thinking about your financial future. Call Dale Sudas and the team at Sudas Financial today to learn how we can help you create a retirement plan that can potentially help you obtain peace of mind and security for years to come. Don't let the fear of running out of money in retirement keep you up at night? Take control of your financial future today. Start your Retire Your Way review and financial plan by calling 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382.
This is Retire Your Way with Dale Sutis of Sutis Financial. You can find out more about the team just by going to the website, Sutis.com, Soutas.com. You can write Dale directly as well by writing him at Dale@Sutis.com. That's Dale and the @ symbol on your keyboard there, and Sutis.com, Soutas.com. I want to discuss a little bit about risk before we wrap up today's program, though, especially today's risk. This year alone, we have seen our markets go up pretty well. We've actually been breaching over the 43,000 in the Dow. A lot more folks want.
And then it's dropping back down to
I know.
about 40.
That's what I mean.
It's bouncing. It's a bouncing.
It is a jagged upwards climb. It is kind of a mountain climb. But how many folks, for the very first time when they come in, do they not realize either how much risk they're taking or how little risk they're taking? Like, hey, you need to step on the gas a little bit.
Good question. So, yeah, people, many times I see people, well, I have investments with XYZ, big, what do you call them?
Box firms.
Yeah, firms and
the
all
ones
that.
that are on the sides of stadiums and so forth. We don't have Sutis Financial on the side of a stadium yet, but maybe someday.
Nah. No, I put
side
it on
of
the
an
side
airplane.
of my rocket. I put it on the side of my rocket.
Okay.
Because I do shoot up high-powered rockets.
Yes, but you can paint that with a little nail polish brush. Those aren't quite as big.
No, it's 4-inch diameter. It's 8 foot 9 inches tall.
All right, Rocket Man. I know.
Yeah.
Just one of your hobbies that you get to enjoy.
Yeah, it's a hobby. It's crazy. All right. So yeah, people come in. They have their statements. They and I ask them, well, how much risk you taking? Do you think? Oh no, we told them we want to be conservative and all that. And so, when you have a typical investment and you look at a little pie chart and it shows 60-40, 60% stock, 40% bonds. Okay, that's what they call a balanced portfolio. But people don't realize that in the real scary times on the market, you can easily lose 30-40% of that. It can drop big time. So even 20%, 15-20% can make a big difference
a light bulb
when it comes to retirement.
That's a light bulb.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can stop you real quick. Take a breath, sip of water if you like. I never realized that. In a 60-40 portfolio, as balanced or as middle of the road-ish as you might think that is, how much can you actually lose? So in a 60-40, if the markets lose 30%, you're still pretty exposed.
Well, yeah. Let's say one comparison I do when I'm showing them if we do an analysis on their portfolio, is the S&P 500 dropped by 53% during that 08, 07, 09 period, right? With the housing crash and all that. And with a balanced portfolio, you're down at least 30 to 35%. Okay, so it's still a big drop. And when you get closer to retirement, you need to, smooth the ride out. I mean, it's fun when we're young to get on those roller coasters, like go to Santa Cruz and they have the Big Dipper and whoa, that's exciting. Or go down to, what is it, 4 flags, 3 flags?
6,
10
you
flags,
goofy.
6 flags. Okay, whatever it is. Anyway, you go down there and I know it just has
4
flags.
Right?
4 flags, 6 flags. So anyway, you go
four
down
flags
there,
is like the
and
cheap
some of those rides are
amusement park.
exciting.
Yeah.
I like those kinds of rides. But is that the ride you want with your money? The big ups and downs and stuff like that? Well, no. We want to get you smooth it out. Get you your money. When you retire, certainly you don't want to retire your money either. So it should be earning something. You want it to be still working for you. But you don't want to put it at too much of a risk to where it can affect what you can do in retirement or how long your money will last in retirement. So, there's a balance there.
A phrase I like
and
to
it's not
say,
a balanced portfolio.
that you are retired, but your money isn't. Okay?
Exactly.
But there are 3 different kinds of phases that we think of. There is the accumulation phase, and that's a good 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
And then there's preservation and distribution. But here's the thing. I think with preservation and distribution, they kind of overlap. Would you agree that maybe there's different buckets and
right.
different choices, but the accumulation stops, generally speaking, because, right, you're starting to pull it out, you're starting to spend it.
Right. So when is that? I mean, the retirement red zone is 5 years before and 5 years after retiring. That's when you really don't want to be taking a lot of risks, because the 5 years leading up to retirement, I actually had somebody probably 24 years ago I met, and he was retired and his wife wanted to retire within the next 2 or 3 years. And, that's what, 24 years at 2000. That's right when things started to drop quite a bit, right? Early 2000s. Well, it was like 8 or 9 years later that she was finally able to retire because they weren't comfortable with what they had. They didn't feel their money would last. And they couldn't, their money dropped so much we couldn't produce the income from it because he kept too much on the market at the time. So, and once you're retired, you don't have to go back to work.
No.
I had somebody who, I talked to years ago, and I pick on him, call him a dingling, because back then he had his hand in all kinds of crazy things, investments. And I said, why are you doing all this different stuff? Because when you retire, you need income, right? Yeah. And Social Security's not going to cut it, right? And so I said, here's some tools, here's some methods. And I can't push anybody. I'm not going to push.
Right.
I can lead them to water. You can't drown them. They say it's illegal, I guess, is the way I put it. So he didn't. And then we set up a small account. So we review it from time to time. And he's finally retired. He, simplified, downsized house and all that. But he's now having to go back to work because he never set things up properly. He's still dabbling in all these different things that are not producing what he really needs to be retired. So I don't like to see that. But again, there are simple ways.
You can't force it on anybody. They've got to want to take the planning. And that's why we say this even for our radio listeners, even for some of the really high-level professions that are out there, from engineers to teachers to CEOs to maybe your own private business owners. If you haven't done the accumulation to preservation to distribution phases over and over and over and over again for thousands of people, then you're not a retirement income and income gap specialist. So why would you take your retirement into your own hands for you and your spouse?
Right.
As you said, here's a couple of things sound like the person did right. They downsized their home. Maybe if they had kids, why do you need as much space right now? Let's downsize that. But if you're not actually putting together, we say this all the time, income is the outcome, right? That's what we're looking for. How do we turn it into income? Income decides the lifestyle, doesn't it, Dale?
Yeah, income is what determines your lifestyle. I mean, without steady, predictable income, it's hard to maintain that lifestyle. And if you're deriving income from investments that are bouncing up and down, or on the stock market, or based on what interest rates you can get, as the market goes up and down, as interest rates go up and down, then you're pulling money from those. And if the interest rates are down, the market's down, you're feeling like, no, I better not touch it. Well, why do you have to tighten your belt in retirement and not do the things you want to do because the market's down or the interest rates are down? That's no way to be living in retirement.
Why would you decide what year you get to retire based on what the markets did? What happens if there is a 5 or 10 or 20% pullback of the markets? You, as Dale just said,
right when you're about to retire, the market drops a big chunk. You know, what do you now?
You've already told your bosses and managers what you think of them. You've given them your 6-month notice, and now you've got to turn tail and go, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
Do you still like me?
I changed my mind.
Can I keep my office down here?
But see, that's why we say the 5 years, especially 5 years before you retire, that's when you should be, really dialing things in so that you can retire without the market or other things, interfering with it, right? So, and it might be that we don't do anything together right then. It might be a year, 2, 3, 4 years later. That's when we start implementing some of the tools for your plan. But it may be some just basic coaching on how to reduce the risk so that you know you can retire down the road.
Dale, for we only have a couple of minutes here, barely that even. For our listeners out there, if they are in that retirement red zone, nearing that ish, even closer to retirement than 5 years, maybe they're thinking next year, what should they be thinking about when it comes to risk in their what should they look for? Should they call their 401k? Should they ask them how much risk they're taking? How do we help them evaluate it?
Well, it's simple. They can come in. We can sit down together. If they're comfy, they can bring statements. I don't need account numbers, social security numbers. We could just do an analysis, help them evaluate, because everybody, what they need to pay their bills, what they need to play, whatever they call fun, the hobbies, interests, golf, whatever, is different. So, we start with the basics there, and really, it's smart to do that ahead of time, and it's not painful at all. Keep your checkbooks at home. We're just going to walk you through some options, and it's basically, and even ahead of time, if you want. The movie, The Baby Boomer Dilemma, we can provide to anyone if they just contact us. They can call our office, they can write us email, dale@sudis.com, and they can get their own copy of that movie. It's only 85 minutes, and it really opens up people's eyes how to properly view their retirement and how to create dependable income.
Folks, if you'd like to get a copy of The Baby Boomer Dilemma and see what so many millions of Americans are concerned about when it comes to retirement income, you can be part of that movement and watch the movie. Or you can just give us a call right here. We'll set you up. We can have you see the movie. Dale will come over to your house with some popcorn. You guys can all watch it together. No, I don't think that's going to happen for all the listeners.
No, we'll give you the website and link and the promo code to take it to zero, and you'll own it. You can view it more than once.
You can watch it at home in the comfort of your own home. 833-856-1382 is the phone number. Let's do an income review for you. If you're a few years away from retirement, or if you've already stepped into retirement, you're not sure how long your money is going to last. If it's been one of those dark clouds over your head, keeping you up at night, let's make that go away. 833-856-1382 is the phone number, or you can go to Sudis.com if you want to learn more about the team, SOUTAS.com. Dale, thank you so much for a great show. For Dale Sudis, I'm Spike Spangle. Both of us will be back again with more Retire Your Way, California, once again next week.
As a valued radio listener of Retire Your Way, Dale and his entire team of retirement professionals invite you to schedule your very own complimentary retirement plan review session. 833-856-1382 is the number for you to call. If you don't have a retirement strategy mapped out that includes low-fee investment elections, tax minimization strategies, decumulation plans that will last as long as you need them to, then call for your very own retirement review session, complimentary for our valued radio listeners. Are you able to lower your taxes in retirement? Are you unclear about your Social Security, Medicare, investment fees, and risk? Or how to produce guaranteed lifetime income so your lifestyle and goals don't have to be changed with the ups and downs of the market or taxes? Call Dale Sudis with Sudis Financial and be confident you can retire your way. Schedule your own comprehensive and complimentary retirement review session. Don't just live in retirement, thrive. Call 833-856-1382. That's 833-856-1382.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to investment advisory products. Rates and guarantees provided by insurance products and annuities are subject to the financial strength of the issuing company, not guaranteed by any bank or the FDIC. A Roth conversion may not be suitable for your situation. The primary goal in converting retirement assets into a Roth IRA is to reduce the future tax liability on the distributions you take in retirement or on the distributions of your beneficiaries. The information provided is to help you determine whether or not a Roth IRA conversion may be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Please review your retirement savings, tax, and legacy planning strategies with your legal and tax advisor to be sure a Roth IRA conversion fits into your planning strategies.